Hello, everyone. Eric from Helps Law Firm for Seniors. Hope you can hear me okay. Let me know in the chat feature if you can hear me clearly. I've got a different speaker today. I don't have my headset on, but I've got this speaker plugged in and I think it's working good. So my name's Eric. I've been an attorney now for, I think 47 years now, since 1976. Good. I'm glad you hear me. 1976. And, I don't know, within a couple months I started my own practice, and within a couple months I filed my first bankruptcy and started doing a lot of bankruptcies for people. And then finally in 1986, I realized that, I was helping a lot of people that were having financial struggles, and I decided to stop doing the other type of practice I was doing, which was general practice. I did all kinds of different law. I had criminal cases, I did personal injury cases, divorces, property transactions, but bankruptcy, I could see that was a real need. And then turn up your sound a little bit. I'm trying to avoid having to wear the headset, but if I need to wear it, I will. Okay. So in 2012, Helps was started, and what Helps does is we're a national law firm that represents seniors who owe debt they can't afford to pay. And we represent seniors under a federal law called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, which provides if you're represented by an attorney, debt collectors can no longer call you. You have to communicate with the attorney, and that's what Helps does. So if you have questions, put them in the chat, but I'll read you things that came in. And first one is kind of tugs at your heartstrings. The guy says, I'm 71 years old. I receive only Social Security. Since February of 2025, creditors have been calling me to pay my bills, and I don't have the money to pay them. A lot of the things we talk about today may sound familiar to you, okay? And if you have any questions, you're always free to call us at the number here, 855-435-7787, okay? So is now Golden Consulting Agency. As far as I can see, it's a debt collector in Mesa, Arizona, calling me and telling me that they're going to take me to court and are going to hold up my Social Security monthly pension until I see the judge. I'm very scared and I don't sleep at all. Helps, please help me. My telephone number is, I reside in the state of Arizona, and my email address is, we called him back, and the paralegal wrote down that he's been struggling with his creditors. Debt collector left a voicemail and threatened him. He is very emotional and scared. He keeps crying. I discussed creditor information, what we needed. He has a dog and needs to keep one credit card in case she needs something happens to her. Could he keep this card? Yes. And the last thing she said, bless his heart. And I think we enrolled this guy in Helps. So this creditor that was trying to collect from him was breaking the law by telling him they were going to withhold his Social Security. They cannot do that. Our most important message to seniors is that your Social Security is protected. No one can take it. The only exception would be if you owed past due child support, which very rarely comes up, or if you owed income taxes to the IRS. It's possible the IRS to send you a notice they intend to offset 15% of your Social Security. This is very rare and normally wouldn't even be done if your income is on Social Security. But if they were to do that and you have modest or lower income, you can qualify for what's called currently not collectible status. So your Social Security is going to be safe, and it's even going to be safe in your bank account. Back in 2012, a rule was put into place that tells banks if they get a writ of garnishment, if someone sues you and gets a judgment, and they try to garnish your bank account examines your account, and if Social Security or federal monies got deposited there, like other federal retirement, then they times that times 2, and that entire sum is protected automatically uh, from garnishment. That twice the amount you get each month is protected automatically. Um, so we're going to have good news for this guy. He's not going to worry. I think he enrolled in HELPS. So when he enrolled, when people call us, we ask them questions. We go over their situation, and we click a button, and they can be enrolled over the phone virtually immediately. It doesn't cost any money to enroll. HELPS is first 30 to 60 days is free. Maybe one out of 6 or 7 of our clients get our help for free. Those that pay a very minimal amount. So we're here to help people. And if you like our videos, press the like button. You can make a comment. Subscribe to our channel. It all helps increase the visibility of HELPS in what we do. As far as I know, we're the only law firm in the nation that does what we do. Okay. So thanks for listening today. And a lot of people listen to this after the live. So this person contacts us from Mississippi, and he says, I'm currently struggling with credit card debt and desperately need your help in resolving my debt. Most of my monthly payments are going toward the interest on the accounts, in that I can never get ahead. I'm 74 years old, living on a fixed income. While I was working, it looked like I was doing pretty well, but because of health issues, since May of 2024, I had to retire from my job as a public school bus driver. Your assistance in this matter is greatly appreciated. Yeah, we're going to call this guy back if we haven't already, and we're going to explain to him that his income is protected. He doesn't need to worry about this stat, okay? And we're going to help him. HELP stands for Help Eliminate Legal Problems for Seniors, HELPS. We also represent, people that are not seniors. It's dependent on seniors and disabled persons, dependent on your source of income. You get Social Security, you get a pension, you get disability, you get VA benefits. That money is protected from collectors, okay? Can't be taken from you. Person contacts us from California, and it says, my husband and I have filed Chapter 7. That's a form of bankruptcy, okay? The most typical form of bankruptcy. But we held off from filing. Like I said, we're going to file, and they stopped filing. My husband is 70 years old, and I am 59 and disabled. So they're both getting protected income. She's getting disability of some form. He's getting Social Security. We would like to find out other options. We have assets and a mortgage current on a vehicle and mortgage payments, but not credit cards. We're hoping for other solutions than bankruptcy. Well, okay. So, I probably filed between 30 and 40,000 bankruptcies before I started HELPS. And one of the reasons I started HELPS was because a lot of seniors would come into me to file bankruptcy. And a large bankruptcy firm that's still in existence, doing quite well. I'm no longer involved with those guys, although they're good friends, and one of them is my brother. So I would tell people who come into me, older people, I say, you don't need to file bankruptcy. A lot of them couldn't afford to file bankruptcy. Couldn't afford to file bankruptcy. But if I told them that no one could do anything and I sent them on their way, I knew creditors were going to call them on the phone. And so what HELPS does, we take advantage of a federal law called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, which law provides if you're represented by an attorney, collectors can no longer call or send demand letters anymore. They have to communicate with the attorney. And that's what we do. So, a couple questions here. Good afternoon, Eric. I previously asked days ago. I'm unaware if answered and I missed it. First, most I appreciate you. Question: Do debt consolidation loan people work with creditors to harass me? I, I don't know. Um, so we talk a lot about debt consolidation here. Okay. And now's a good time to give an example. Okay. There's two types. There's debt settlement and debt consolidation companies. One is nonprofit, the other one is for-profit. They're both the same. When I say the same, is they help people that owe debt, supposedly. Now, debt settlement companies, the way they work is you pay money and then they collect the money and then they try to settle with creditors for a lesser sum. And debt management companies is they try to get the creditors to lower the interest rate and you make a certain amount of money and you pay it out over a period of 3 to 4 years or whatever. Both of them, with a few exceptions, both of them the same in that they won't tell a senior that your income is protected. So when you ask, do debt consolidation loan people will work with creditors to harass me, I don't think they intentionally do that, but maybe if you stop paying the debt or whatever, the creditor is going to start harassing you, And so here, I want to show you something if I can find it here. I got it up here. So this is from a company called Lending Tree. They're pretty big, okay? Okay. Debt Relief for Seniors Program and Resources. Now, I'm not going to click on this, but this Devin Delfino is a young woman who's just a journalist student or graduated in journalism. Okay, she's not an expert. And this Michael Kitchen, I don't know what he is. He's an editor. He wants to make sure the English is right, I guess. So, Debt Relief for Seniors Programs and Resources. Now, what I'm doing is I'm showing you this article to show how seniors are not given correct information. It's a good example. There are scores of these articles out here. Seniors with financial problems, they're never told what you're going to hear on this channel. Okay? So what are they told? Government program for debt assistance. Talks about supplemental Social Security, which is true. I mean, that doesn't help with debt. It helps with give you income. Medicaid and Medicare doesn't help with debt. It helps, pay for your medical bills. Property tax deferral programs. Okay. Low income injury. Okay, that's it. And then nonprofit National Council on Aging. You've heard me talk about National Council on Aging if you've listened to me. They have a number of articles, but nowhere in their articles do they ever say, by the way, your Social Security is protected, so is your pension, so is your disability, so are your VA benefits. And you can send a cease and desist letter, stop paying the debt, and the creditors have to leave you alone. Nowhere do they tell you that. Instead of they direct you to debt management companies. Why? Because they get donations from them. Even though their motto as a nonprofit is to help seniors, especially those that are struggling financially. And then they get around $50 million a year from the United States government to supplement them. And yet they don't give seniors, especially the half of seniors that are struggling financially or that are the information they deserve to hear. But anyway, so get back to this article. Local charities, AARP Foundation. I haven't seen AARP do anything. Credit card debt relief. They refer people to debt counseling or debt consolidation loans. Medical debt relief. Talks about, sometimes the hospital will waive the fee. And then bankruptcy is the last resort. Avoiding scams. Okay, and that's it. That's the end of the article. Okay, nowhere in this article, not one thing, not one place did they ever mention the fact that your Social Security is protected and your pension is protected and you didn't have to pay the debt and there was a way to stop the creditors from bothering you. No, they didn't tell you that. You can, yeah. I do have to do a video after we're done here, but I'll try to call you when we're done the video here. Okay. Um, this person contacts us from Connecticut. I'm 70 years old, and I have about 20,000 in unsecured debt. I've been unemployed for the last 13 months, so I have been able to pay my bills, but I have a problem if I don't get employed soon. Just wondering what to do if I cannot make the payments. Okay, if this is you and you can't make your payment and you're on Social Security, you maybe even have a little job or you get a pension, your income is protected, can't be taken from you. You can choose to stop paying the debt. And the creditors are going to have to leave you alone. And if you want our help, you can contact Helps. And what we'll do is we'll send letters to the creditors you owe money to. The collectors cease and desist letter. They can no longer call you. And when people enroll on Helps, you're our client ongoing. It's not just one time. You're literally our client forever. So you don't have to deal with collectors. We don't turn anyone away that calls for the help that we need, the help that they need. Okay? That's right, Kat. You can call right now and talk to someone. I had an old debt. This person contacts us from Missouri. I had an old debt that I had forgotten about. I was served with papers to be sued by Velocity Investments, LLC. I understand they are debt scavengers. What he means by that is maybe they, a creditor would turn it over to a collection agency and they try to collect. They might turn it over to another collecting agency. And at some point, the bill's been churned so many times that no one knows if they can collect. And someone might buy the debt for pennies on the dollar and try to collect on it. And so sometimes you call those debt scavengers. They scavenge trying to find a debt they can collect on. Now, if you ever think that a debt collector is going to tell you that your income is protected, no, they're not going to tell you that. They don't have to. Okay. They just want you to pay the bill. It says, I received many offers for help from attorneys to help. Their fees were way beyond my ability to pay. So the reason this guy got letters is he's been sued. Okay. And a lot of bankruptcy attorneys subscribe to a service that lets them know if someone's been sued. And so they'll send an advertisement letter saying that they can help you if you've been sued, file bankruptcy. And so this guy realizes he can't afford bankruptcy. Probably he doesn't need to. But anyway, the court date is December 9th, looks like today, which I know is very soon. I'm worried that a judgment may cause them to try to put a lien on our home. We still have a mortgage. I think I may have talked to this guy yesterday. I think I saw this note and I picked him up the phone and called him because he had a court hearing today and talked to him and explained to him why he didn't need to go to court, why his home was protected and his income was protected, and he was really relieved. He didn't enroll then, but I'm sure he's going to call back and will enroll. He goes on to say, I've been battling cancer and had a heart attack 3 years ago. My health is not good, and my husband has serious heart problems. Is there anything that can be done? I didn't see your website until now. I'm pretty sure this is the person I talked to. They just happened to come on our website and said, oh my gosh, maybe these people can help us. That's why, appreciate if you like the videos and you subscribe to our channel, because that way Google or the internet can pick up on that and they'll spread this around more. So when people that are in these kind of problems, seniors in these kind of problems, they search for help, our website or our YouTube videos are going to pop up. So you can help everyone else out. And then also share the information with others as appropriate. I tell people, if you're talking to someone and all of a sudden it comes out of midair, maybe I need to tell this person about Helps. You can tell them about us. You don't need to say you're a member or anything like that, but just say, I heard about this law firm that helps seniors that are having problems. Okay. Person writes in, they say, I'm disabled, but I don't know if I'm a senior. I'm 62. Do I qualify as a senior? I've been sued and I'm scared. Well, if you've been listening to me a while, you're going to know the answer is the laws that we talk about here, the things I talk about are based upon your income, not your age. Okay, we've got lots of persons that are part of HELPS that are in their 50s or their 40s or their 30s and maybe younger that are getting Social Security disability. So it doesn't matter. If you're getting disability income, you can be part of HELPS. HELPS stands for Help Eliminate Legal Problems for Seniors and Disabled Persons. Okay? Can you tell me if my 1099 contractor income is protected? I do freelance writing jobs and a few other things that helps brings in a few dollars a month. Yes, as a practical matter, it's protected, and I'll explain why. So you're a freelance writer. You do work for different people. Okay. You do a job for someone, and then you send them a bill, and they pay you. Okay. For it to be a problem, someone would have to sue you, get a judgment, and then know exactly who owes you money and when you're supposed to be paid to be able to garnish that person at the exact right moment. An example would be maybe you're a barber and you're a self-employed barber. How's someone's going to garnish your 1099 income? Well, they'd have to be standing next to the person you're doing a haircut for and serve them with a writ of garnishment as soon as the haircut is done. Okay, I could go after example. So no, you're not going to have a problem. Okay. Okay, hi Eric, this is Brian from Idaho. They couldn't touch my Social Security, but they found out where I work. They served my company garnishment papers. That is what seniors get in bed. Okay, let me talk about that. Okay. Most of our clients don't work, Brian, but a few do. Okay. Now, there are a number of states. There's a few states that protect wages 100% from garnishment. The best example is Texas. Okay. You can work in Texas no matter what you make. They can't garnish your wages. Then a lot of states protect, every state, there's a federal law that protects a minimum of $217.50 net per week in wages. That's $435 every 2 weeks, $950 a month. That law was put into effect, I think, in 1996. It's federal law. It's all 50 states. But then a lot of states protect more than that in wages. California, Nevada, Washington, Oregon. I think Oregon does. I mean, I could go over it. There's a lot of states. But maybe half of the states, I'm not sure exactly, it might be a little bit more than half, just use the federal law. So I think what happened when the federal law was passed, Congress said, we're going to turn this over to the states. We're going to protect this minimum amount. We're not going to change the law. And if the states want to protect more, they can do it. So Idaho doesn't protect. Now, what can you do? Well, you can call and talk to us. And we'll go over your options. It may not be an issue. You could be able to cut your hours maybe, and they couldn't garnish anything. Or we could talk to you possibly about the bankruptcy option. Okay, it's not very common that we need to refer someone for bankruptcy, but it does happen occasionally. This person writes in and says, I believe I'm allowed to work part-time on Social Security disability to try to do better, survive. Can creditors I owe take my part-time earning? I apologize for asking another question already. Ask all the questions you want. And that's what YouTube Live's for. Sometimes I'll go through a YouTube Live session, only have a half a dozen questions in there. Most everyone gabbing amongst themselves, which I don't mind. So sure, ask your questions. That's what I'm here for. Well, it depends on your state, like I said. But $217.50, and then they would have to sue you. They have to know where you work, and then to be able to garnish you. And then, like I said, $217.50 net per week is protected in garnishment. That works out to about $435 every 2 weeks. If you get paid once a month, it's about $950. Okay. Yeah, I'm afraid to lose my Social Security if I work. Well, yeah, I think there you can Google and find out what the rules are. They're pretty clear. Okay, what you can make and still get Social Security disability. Okay, this person contacts me from Delaware. Okay, they're age 68 and 70. They get about 1350 and 2200 in Social Security. They're buying a home. They owe 80,000. It's worth about 220, and it's in both their names. Okay. The wife had a credit card with Walmart. She wasn't able to keep it up. Doesn't have any financial support. The debt was written off. All of a sudden, she's received a notice that she was being sued by a debt collector for the Walmart card. She responded with a letter explaining her situation. She did say that she had a credit card with Walmart and she was willing to pay $10 a month. And she told them that a couple of times. And then she says, went to the mailbox and received something called a pretrial conference. Apparently she'd been sued. I don't know if she realized it. Maybe they served someone at her home and she doesn't know about it. But anyway, she's been sued. There wouldn't be a pretrial conference unless there was a lawsuit. The court date was supposed to be through Zoom. See, if you've been sued and you owe the money and there's a court date and maybe even a Zoom meeting or whatever, I mean, and your income, Social Security or pension, disability or retirement income, and you don't need to go to court. If you read the paperwork carefully, that's if you're going to defend the lawsuit. But if you owe the money and there's no need to defend it because you owe it, you can choose not to go to court. Okay, you don't get in trouble. And she said now they're requesting some paperwork or judgment be entered against her. She said she does not want to do with the paperwork. The date for completion was November 26th, but she didn't get it till December 8th. So it looks like someone doesn't know what they're doing over there. But anyway, she was grateful that she went home and turned on her TV because she found us. Boy, I've heard that before. She also was able to get a lot of information about her situation. She is incredibly thankful that we put info out there due to this. She doesn't have any money to give them. Our $10 offer was stretching it. She goes to food banks, gets free insulin through the hospital, and requires rides to and from places. Very overwhelmed. Anxiety, and takes medication for it. You know, that's what helps us design. If you have anxiety about this and you're upset about this, my goodness, you call us on the phone. You know, we're not going to turn you away. When you enroll with Helps, you're our client ongoing. And so if you ever have a question, if you're concerned or you're worried, you pick up the phone and you call us, no matter how often. No, we don't want you to be out there worrying. She's reached out to legal aid, but there was no help there. No, legal aid does great, but they don't do this kind of thing. Okay, they don't do what Helps does. You know, legal aid is mostly a lot of young attorneys, and they work in a different area. They don't help seniors who have debt to stop collectors from harassing them. Then it says here, she is currently with a debt consolidation company. Well, if she was a debt consolidation company, she doesn't need to be there. The question I ask her is, when you signed up with them, did they tell you that your income was protected and you didn't need to enroll? And the answer is going to be no, they didn't tell me that. And why didn't they tell you that? If they would have told you that your income was protected, you wouldn't have signed up with them. Okay? And that's why this article that I showed you earlier in the video, you know, they sent people to debt management or debt settlement companies or debt consolidation companies. Why? Because they don't want you to know that what I'm talking about, how your income is protected and what your rights are. And it says she has no clue what she owes. Went over what we do and how our bank account would be protected. Should she call the courts and tell them she has received the paperwork so they don't think she is ignoring it? It's up to her, but she doesn't really have to. They're just going to eventually get a judgment. As long as she keeps the balance in her bank account less than twice the amount of her Social Security or federal benefit, it's protected automatically by her bank, regardless if there's others' monies in there. She'll be okay. She's interested in our services. She did seem overwhelmed, though. We talked to a lot of people that are overwhelmed, and after we talk to them, the overwhelmness goes away. I hope they're not underwhelmed, but I don't want them to worry. She says she's going to take tonight to read over what we sent her some, we call them bells and whistles, emails on different topics. We've got maybe 4 or 500 emails on different topics that we can send to seniors that answers their questions about certain topics. Some of them we send more often than others, obviously. And it says we're going to send. She wants to read them and sleep on it. It says she will be okay. So she actually called back today, ready to enroll. We enrolled her. And we told her that she needed to send us a copy of the summons or the lawsuit. We're going to send a letter to the attorney who sued her. We're going to tell that attorney, hey, this person can't pay you. We understand you're going to get her judgment. Her income is Social Security. Don't touch her bank account. They can't anyway. So that's what we do. We help people. We help seniors that are having these problems so they're going to be relieved and not have to worry about things. Okay. I check my court documents daily just to see if anything has happened. I'm a glutton for punishment. Yeah, you are. You can check the court records now in most counties in the country. They let you know if you've been sued. So I believe, I'm understanding if I were to work part-time, my wages working on disability cannot be garnished by creditors. Well, it depends your state and how much you're making. No matter where you live, $217.50 net per week is protected from garnishment. And in order for them even to think about garnishing you, first they'd have to sue you, get a judgment, and know where you work. We just don't have a problem with our clients being garnished, okay? So this person contacts us from Texas. They say, I'm 69 years old. I'm handicapped. He's blind in one eye. And he's got some deafness problems. And paralyzed. Got a lot of issues. I live on $1,000 and I have to pay for rent, bills, and food. And sometimes it's either food or bills, so I get disconnected. Or discouraged, I think is what he's saying. I would appreciate it very much if you all could help me. If you could help me, I'm sure I would appreciate it. May God bless you. We're going to help this guy. Probably not going to charge him a thing. We'll get our help for free. Okay? We don't turn anyone away. No. When you enroll in HELPS, fee is minimal. Most a person would pay would be $40 for 24 months, $20 for 24 months, then free thereafter, or $30 for 24 months, $15 for 24 months, free thereafter, or $20 for 24 months, $10 for 24 months, free thereafter. We make it work for people. But we want to help people. This person contacts us from Kentucky. I have 18 days to reply to a court summons. I'm being sued by a debt collector. Circuit Court in Jackson County, Kentucky. I'm 71 years old, drawing Social Security only. I need all the help your group can give me. Please help. Thank you very much. We're going to be able to help the guy. He's not going to need to worry. He's not going to need to go to court. He's going to be okay. So, you know, if you've been sued or you're worried about being sued, and your income is protected, Social Security, pension, disability, VA benefits, and you need your money to live on, you don't want to be harassed by creditors, please call us and we'll go over your situation. You know, if you want our help, we can enroll you. You're going to give us all the creditors you owe money to or collectors. We're going to send them a cease and desist letter, and they're going to leave you alone. Okay? You don't need to file bankruptcy because your income is protected. Now, what about your other assets? Are they going to go after your... No. It's not the practice of consumer judgment creditors to go after other assets. I'm talking about, you know, there's a very rare exception, you know, but there's state laws that protect equity in, like equity in a home, equity in a car, equity in household goods or other stuff. Okay? How many times does your mortgage company send you someone to see you if you live in the house? Well, I think the only time they would do that is if you didn't make a payment or they suspected you weren't living there. For what reason? The reason they would send someone to check on the house is, you know, they don't want the house being vacant. They want to make sure someone's living there. Otherwise, it could be squatters could move in and they could destroy that property. Okay? That's why. So it would be very unusual if you were current on your mortgage payment. Okay. This one I wrote. I talked to someone. I think probably yesterday, and it says I'm supposed to talk about a Florida potential client. He gets $2,100 in Social Security, and she gets $1,200 in Social Security, and then she gets some wages. I remember this call, and he has $22,000 in unsecured debt, and she has around the same amount. In addition, they both have a deficiency of. They had a motorhome that went back, and it was sold for less than what's owed, and they got a notice that they owe $30,000 is left owing on the motorhome. They have a lease and a car payment, and he's got a golf cart he's making a payment on. They make pretty decent income as far as their Social Security, both Social Securities, and a little bit of wages. Only he was sued. And he was going to enroll in HELPS. So you can enroll him, and his Social Security is protected. Now, she could have some problems because her income is a little bit more than what's the federal protections in Florida. They only have the Florida protections. But the odds of there being a problem there are pretty low. They'd have to sue her, which may or may not happen, and then they'd have to know where she works. And then she's elderly too, and she may decide to either retire completely or lower her hours. So they're going to work out. So you know, when we talk to people, we give them legal information. We don't represent people in court. We don't give technically legal advice. We tell you what the law is, and it's pretty self-explanatory. What your options are. So this person contacts us from Ohio. They get husband gets $3,200 in Social Security, the wife gets $1,200 in Social Security. They got a home that excuse me, 108,000. It's worth about 180, and they got about a little bit over 20,000 in debt. They called in the middle of November to ask about it, and we sent them some information. Then they called day before yesterday, or yesterday it looks like. It says they're struggling with credit card debt that's in both names. They were with Cambridge Debt Relief, and they were paying $1,200 a month. And the question I would ask, did Cambridge Debt Relief tell them that their income was protected and they didn't need to pay the debt? I kind of doubt it, you know. But that's a lot of money. Yeah, she's working essentially for Cambridge Debt Relief. But she could, they need to do that. So utilities and food inflation is making it difficult to survive. Discuss updating creditor profile. You know, yeah. If you've got a question or any, you know, if anything we talk about today, if that says, oh, maybe they can help me, you be sure and call. That's what we're here for. You'll be glad you did. There's no pressure. You know, we don't turn anyone away. If you decide to enroll, we don't need any money up front. Your payment doesn't begin until 30 or 60 days. I'll give you an example. So if someone called today and they decided they wanted help and they're getting paid on, let's say, the third Wednesday of the month, you either get your Social Security on the third or the second, third, or fourth Wednesday. So the third Wednesday of the month, if a person enrolled today, their payment wouldn't begin until January 21st. Now, if you got paid on the third of the month, your payment wouldn't begin until like February 3rd. So it depends. But we can adjust that. We make it work for people. We don't, but you can be enrolled immediately. So when you enroll in HELPS, we enroll you over the phone. We keep you on the line. You're going to get an email from us that says, welcome to HELPS. Has all our contact information, our address, phone number, email addresses, gives instructions how to get us the collectors. All we need is the name, address, and account number. We don't need the balance that you owe. And then the one thing we're going to tell you is you call if you're worried or have a question. I'm just afraid if you were ever threatened to be shut your office down and they succeeded in doing so. So many people that find your services a relief. We're not going anywhere. Don't worry about that, please. No. Just received an advertisement letter from a law firm indicating that a lawsuit was filed against me. I explained earlier today why you got that letter. It's a solicitation to represent me. Yeah, it is. I looked up the case number with the Palm Beach County Public Records, and it seems to be legit. Yeah. Bankruptcy attorneys do that, like I said. I'm 71 years old and live strictly on Social Security and have no money to my name. Please help. Yeah, we're going to call this guy back. We're going to explain to him why his Social Security is protected. He doesn't need to worry about the lawsuit. If he wants to enroll in HELPS, he can do that. He's going to be fine. Okay? I am 81 years old, this guy writes in, and I owe $20,000 in credit card debt. I'm on Social Security and no other income. He gets $1,550 a month. I need some advice on should I file bankruptcy? Can I stop paying? Thank you. I think I talked to this guy, or I wrote him an email. Tried to call him from Arizona. It's a woman, I think. And if we talk to her, we're going to tell her she doesn't need to worry. She doesn't need to pay the credit card debt anymore. her Social Security is completely protected, and she doesn't need to file bankruptcy. Couldn't afford to file bankruptcy, but she has no need to because the creditors can't take anything from her. She can stop paying the debt. She lives in Arizona. It's got a very generous homestead exemption. If she's buying a home, should be protected. We can go over that with her. No, she's gonna be fine. If you don't know, I have my hard computer set up. I'm not on my laptop. Life is so much easier doing YouTube live. I don't have to try to, oh gosh. Oh, I'm so glad to have it set up this way. Okay. Contacts is from Missouri. Hello, my name is, and my mother is, mom is 79 years old. She has a few credit cards that she owes on. So it sounds like the daughter's calling for the mom. She saw an ad for a debt consolidation company, and she called them. They advertise a lot. You know why they advertise a lot? Because they make a heck of a lot of money. They design the program so they get paid up front. And once again, with rare exceptions, they're not going to tell a senior that their income is protected. They're not going to ask your age. I think they do that to assuage their guilt. If they asked their age and still tried to sign you up, they'd feel guilty. By not asking your age, then just assume that they treat everyone the same. Shame on them. She called them. She has been working with them and has been told she has paid off one of her cards, almost paid off another, but the third would not work with the company to lower the debt amount to have a reasonable monthly payment for my mom. Third one was originally discovered, bought out by Capital One. She was told by the consolidation company to not pay the card directly, not answer any phone calls. Lo and behold, she got served with papers last month. Court date is on December 10th, tomorrow. We have been working to figure out what to do about the $23,000 debt that she can't afford and contacted a few different lawyers before coming across your YouTube video from your company. I don't know if this one of these videos, we got lots of different videos. The pro bono loaner we talked to basically told us that because she owed the money, there was not a lot we could do. He didn't know what he was talking about. Okay. I do. I'm 74. I did 30 to 40,000 bankruptcies. I know this law. Okay. It says there was not a lot we could do because she owns a still mortgaged double-wide mobile home. No. That 4 adults live in. She said the judgment would be for the collectors and they would put a lien on the house. A lien is on a house on land, not a mobile home. There might be a few exceptions in a couple states, but no. But even if it was, there's ways to overcome that, okay? They may not be actually doing anything immediately, but once she passes away, they will sell it out from under me and the kids. We really need to know what to do. We spoke to a bankruptcy attorney, and he suggested we ask for continuance, and we have an appointment to talk with them following. Can you help us, please? Yeah, we can help you. They've been in the home a long time. If mom added the kid's name to the home with rights of survivorship, then if they get a judgment when mom dies, the home goes to the kids. The judgment goes away. If it was a lien, but it probably isn't even going to be a lien. So we'll talk to her and tell her what her rights are and what the law is. It's like when I first started today. Those two, that guy that wrote that, woman that wrote that article about help for seniors in debt, was a journalist. Didn't know anything, never filed a bankruptcy, doesn't know about debt consolidation laws, doesn't know anything about the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, doesn't know about how Social Security is protected, and yet they wrote an article as an expert to guide people toward debt management. And they didn't know what they were talking about, and It'd be like me writing an article on how to perform heart surgery. Uh, uh, they read what someone else wrote, and then they repeat the same thing over and over again. There's just a lot of misinformation. One thing you're going to hear on this channel is you're going to hear the truth. Okay. Guy calls us from disability. He calls us from Kentucky. Disability is our only income. I have credit card debt and one unsecured loan. I can't afford to pay them any longer due to medical issues. Medical supplies and doctor appointments, copays and travel to and out of the state doctors. Thank you for the help you give seniors. We're both 66 years old. We're going to be able to help you. His disability is only income. It's protected. No one can do anything to him. He doesn't have to pay the debt, the credit card debt. He'll have that money to help chip towards his medical bills. Okay, this guy is a comment on one of our videos. I think it was with senior living. This guy says, so, I read some of these comments, and people that make these comments, some of them are right. A lot of them are people just don't know what they're talking about. He says, they're talking credit card debts on this video and medical debt. And then he says, IRS always gets their money. Same if you're overpaid on unemployment. Moral of the story, pay your taxes and don't lie on unemployment as well as welfare. Well, guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay. I did make a response. I said, if you owe the IRS money and you're modest or lower income, you can get on what's called currently not collectible status. Okay? And if you owe state taxes, state can't touch your Social Security or your pension. If you owe money on overpayment of unemployment, they can't touch your Social Security or your pension or disability. Okay? So don't believe everything you read. Now you might say, well, don't believe everything Eric says. Well, I believe I know what I'm talking about. And sometimes there'll be an exception to something, but it's so rare. If I were to talk about it, it would, it just kind of throw a kink in the works. But even on those rare exceptions, there's things that can be done. It kind of reminds me of when I was in law school. I was walking down the carols on the books. And all of a sudden, a bunch of law books, there was about a dozen of them, they had a Coca-Cola symbol. The Coca-Cola, the old-fashioned writing. And I started looking at those, and they were all cases from Coca-Cola. And mostly from the 1930s, when Coca-Cola was pretty new. And a lot of cases had to do with, I remember one case in particular, what people would find in a Coca-Cola bottle. And then they would sue Coca-Cola because of distress for what they drank the Coke because it had someone's thumb in the Coca-Cola bottle. That doesn't happen today. But, you can always think of some really odd situation where there could be a problem. It's like this. You could walk out the front door on a cloudy day and get hit by a bolt of lightning. I suppose but we don't live our lives that way. And, to give someone advice based on worrying about getting hit by a bolt of lightning, it's not the right thing to do. But if there was a problem, we know what to do. I've been doing this long enough. I've seen all these problems come up. Okay, this guy is his big question. He says, the big question. State pension is via electronic deposit. Can those funds be garnished? Well, if it's deposited into your account to which Social Security goes, then remember twice the amount of your federal benefit, like Social Security, in your bank account is protected from garnishment automatically, regardless of what other funds are in there. But in order for it to be even to be having this discussion, someone would have to sue you and get a judgment. But let's say you had your state pension was deposited into an account all by itself, and someone did have a judgment and they garnished that account. Yeah, they could hold up that money. But in virtually every state, you could file a challenge to garnishment or claim of exemption with the court, and the court would order the bank to return those monies or to not take the money out. And you could do that fairly quick. So technically it could be garnished, but it'd be ordered to be released. Extremely rarely this happens with one of HELP's clients, and we help get the money released for a client. Doesn't putting assets into a joint tenant with rights of survivorship have to be done before judgment? Yes, it does. Yeah, that would be important to do that before a judgment. You could technically do that while there's a lawsuit. There's not a judgment yet. Person writes in, I'm 72 years old with 3 or 4 disabilities. I owe the IRS $15,000. Can they take my Social Security benefits? The IRS technically can offset 15% of Social Security. Are they going to do that? If it's your only form of income, you know, I haven't seen IRS for years do offset of Social Security from someone on offset of Social Security if their only income is Social Security. And if it were to happen, they would send you a notice of intent to do that after 60 days, which would give you a chance to contact the IRS and get set up on currently not collectible status. Okay? Or if you had other income, you could get up on a payment plan with the IRS. So no, you're not going to have a problem. Okay. Here's one. This is a question on a YouTube channel, one of our YouTube videos. If a senior leaves their house with taxes due, property taxes, I'm assuming they mean, to their children, would the children become liable once the house is transferred into their name? Okay, property taxes work this way. The property taxes are not owed by you. They're owed by your house, whoever owns the house. So yeah, if you transfer the house to your kids, the house owes the taxes. The kids would need to pay those, otherwise the county could, foreclose on the home. Now, if it went back in foreclosure, who pays the property taxes? The mortgage company has to pay the property taxes. So the property taxes aren't owned by individuals, they're owned by the home. Therefore, the person who actually owns the home is responsible for those. When they check on if you're living, do they have to come to the door? I don't know. They don't usually normally do that, but is a bank levy different from a bank garnishment? It's just the same word. It's a synonym. Levy is a synonym for a garnishment. Same thing. Okay? Looks like we're coming down near the end. Person contacts us from West Virginia. Husband is 72, wife is 70, and they get $2,050, and she gets $1,000, Social Security only. And they were in debt consolidation since 2024, paying $348 a month. Once again, were they told that their income was protected? No. And they apparently saw one of our videos, and they stopped paying it. Yeah, if you're signed up with debt management or debt settlement, you can contact them and ask them why you weren't told that your income was protected, and ask them to refund any money they're still holding for you. We went over the protections and what we do, and we quoted our fees, and apparently they enrolled in HELPS. Okay, so it's been an hour. I want to thank you for your participation. And if you have any more questions, you can contact us, the number below, 855-435-7787. Or 855-HELPS-US or Helps Us. Call us if you have any questions. You can put some comments on the comment page. Press the like button. If you haven't, please subscribe to our channel, and please share what HELPS does with others. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. God bless. Have a great day.